It's week 2 of Truck Show and Shine as Motorhead Garage finishes up its exclusive coverage of the Brothers Truck Parts Show in Southern California. Don't think there's much variety in a bunch of Chevy pickups? Au contraire, mon frere.
Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Now we're continuing our visit out west at Brothers Trucks, and I have with us Steve Flanders, one of the two brothers. Steve, give us a little overview of the parts. There's so many here.
47 through 87 Chevy and GMC truck stuff now. Initially we started off 47 to 72, but we added the extra years up to 87 once those trucks got popular. And we basically carry everything from the ground up, from restoration all the way to modification. So if you're doing a full-blown resto, you can do that. We've got all your stuff. And then if you're doing a modification, dropping it, or even just bringing it up to safety by putting disc brakes on it or something like that, we've got all that stuff.
And Steve, your story is so inspirational. It was to me, I think for entrepreneurs and more importantly, car guys. You and your brother are a car guy. Yep. Tell us how you started Brothers Trucks.
So yeah, I had a job working for somebody else, basically doing the same thing, but selling parts for a different type of car. Through that, I realized, yeah, there's a niche in classic Chevy and GMC truck parts that just wasn't being properly addressed. And fortunately, I had the experience from my previous job to do this properly from the beginning. So my brother and I had a handshake deal back in 1995, and we started Brothers. And it's been a cool thing to be part of what I've been passionate about, because it doesn't feel like I have worked a day in the last 21 years.
And that's usually how it works out. Yeah, I got a chance to walk around here. The place is phenomenal. Your employees, I mean, they're car guys. I mean, this stuff's happening. I mean, they're looking at the stuff and making sure everything's right.
The majority of them are actual car guys. They're into classics and everything like that. They're not just your run-of-the-mill, jack-in-the-box, you know, order takers at the window. They actually know their stuff, and they can handle just about anything.
And you also put on one awesome show and shine show. We're going to head out there and check out some of it right now.
This is a 1972 Chevrolet C10 half-ton pickup. This was an old work truck that we pulled out of Utah and bring it 17 years ago, and it's been in a transformation since we've been doing it. And this is our first time showing here at the Brothers Truck Show. This was a bare bones truck, had a V6 in it. So we did what they call a motor swap. In Nevada, you have to have permission to do a motor swap. Put a small block 350 in it, bored over a little bit, small chrome JBA headers, custom exhaust, 373 posi rear end. 17 years ago, it was probably in, from a 1 to 10, it was probably a 6. They had an old fifth wheel trailer hitch in the back, and we took it down and changed some of the body panels. Of course, the tailgate was new, and took it all off the frame and powder coated the frame and did the whole undercarriage. All full AccuAir suspension, done in Las Vegas by the Rod Shop. This was painted by a friend of mine and his father, a small family shop out of Las Vegas, Nevada called Nuncio Auto Body, Freddie and Victor Armandi. This was an actual color that was picked out by my wife. It's called a medium olive metallic. All the beautiful artwork here and the patterns and the variegated leaf and the striping has been done here in Pomona, California by Jeff Roberts, El Jefe. I can't tell you that much, but I tell you it's amazing. It's painstaking work. It's artwork that very few can do, and he's one of the best here in California. It takes a lot of time and delicate work with the leafing and the variegated leaf that's done on this vehicle. Custom wood, zebra wood bed, stake pocket wood. So I got a custom carpet kit. It was made by a friend of mine, by his hands designed. Tony did a full custom kit, did the plaque. It's a basic interior. Now I'm going to do an upgrade. Mark Lopez is going to do a full leather interior. The spotlight was original. Sometimes on this truck, it already had a hole in the pillar. The spotlight was there. The U6000 meant it was a Utah truck. That let the Highway Patrol know that you could actually carry so much of a payload. They may have crates in the back or hay bales, or you may have too big of a load. Well, back then in the early 70s, you could get a ticket if you had too much of a payload in your truck. Born in Brooklyn, New York, big New York Jet fan, and everybody knows me from my football team, so I tied that in to the name. They call me the Jetster.
This edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, is being brought to you by Custom Auto Sound. the originator of classic car OEM fit radios since 1977. Brothers Truck Parts, your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration. Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Now, from brakes to suspension parts to bumpers, Brothers has it all. Now, we've been bumping into a lot of awesome people with some really cool trucks at the 18th annual Show and Shine. Let's go out and join them.
A 1966 Chevy C10. I picked it up from Northern California, Visalia. It was a farm truck. The previous owner had picked it up from an old man off of a farm, and then kind of threw a flat black paint job. Seems like the thing to do now. It had mud all over the place. It was a farm truck. When I picked it up, it did have the engine in it, but it was just junk. The guy tried to do some body work on it, and it was Bondo everywhere and missing stuff here, there, no wood, nothing. So first thing I did was get it down to the electrical, pulled it off the frame. I mean, we just started going to town on it, you know. The motor was running good already. We have a small cam in it, headers, nothing too beefy, just something that it's reliable. I'll jump in that thing and drive to Vegas if I want to, you know. The interior, I wanted a classic look, but at the same time modern. So we shaved the dash and we added an in-dash screen to it. You have the nice sub sounds, and the seat is my interior. So I wanted to just do something clean looking, but at the same time different. So we stitch it like a 66 Impala. It has airbags on it. We put the disc brakes, power steering. Because we lowered it, I put a C-notch in it. We had to raise the bed up another 4 inches, tub it out, put bigger wheels. You know, nothing too drastic. I didn't want it to lay on the ground where I couldn't use my bed. It's a family truck. I have little kids, put them in the back, and we do these car shows, you know. It's actually oak wood. It's not a very strong wood, but the way the guy stained it, and he sprayed car clear on it, so it has that shine to it. I mean, people ask me, you know, sometimes, oh, where do you get that? Oh, I get it from Italy. You know, it's a special wood nobody knows about, you know. But it's pine wood, you know, but it's just, these guys did a really great job on that. At first, it started at a paint shop for about a year. Got it to a friend of mine. He's in Montclair, Daniel Collision. The color's name is Envy Green. It's actually a Hyundai color. And then we mixed maybe 3 or 4 colors into it, a little bit of red, yellow, and some blue. He painted it, I want to say twice, because he didn't like the way it came out the first time, you know. So that was probably the hardest part of building the truck, was picking the color of the paint.
It's a 52 Chevy, 3-window pickup. I had an auto repair shop down Laguna Niguel, and one of my customers was going to restore it. And he'd gotten as far as powder coating the chassis. It was all in a shipping container in pieces. It was from a guy in Hawaii that died, and the family donated to Alzheimer's. I bought it for about $600. And then after seeing it, I paid too much for it. After I had it media blasted, the whole right front corner was completely gone. So I had to replace all 4 corners, the floorboard, the toe board, the firewall, and all the fenders were dented. And I think the old guy drove into every palm tree in Hawaii. Started at about 2000, and then sold my shop in 2005, brought it home, it had just been painted, and put it all together there and got the interior done, the whole thing. Then I had to redo the chassis completely anyway, because I put independent suspension on it. The bed, it's a new bed. I bought aftermarket bed sides and that. I got it with the stake pockets out of it. And then it's got oak bed boards. I put a 65 Mustang gas tank in the rear. It's got a 93 Camaro Z28 engine in it, 700R tranny, and a 9-inch Ford rear end. And then I put the steel wheels on it with a 52 Chevy hubcap, passenger car hubcaps. And it's got power steering, power brakes, power windows, air conditioning. It turned out pretty good. It's, you know, a 50-foot truck, and I drive it a lot. I told my wife I'd sell it or the Roadster, and she's worried about the Roadster because I've had it 44 years and I've had her 43. She figures if the Roadster goes, she could be next. So, but I'm basically too old to start another one.
It's a 1965 Chevy pickup. Actually, I had it sitting in my backyard for 13 years. All my buddies were like, oh, you know, come on, sell it to me, you're never gonna fix it. And I finally got it around. It took 13 years to get it going, and it took me a good 3 years of work and a lot of parts from brothers, and finally got it out. It was definitely a lot of work. Totally took the bed off and purchased oak lumber and did all the lumber myself and cut it, routed it, did all that. After we did that, then went through the whole drivetrain, motor, tranny, brakes, everything, and had it painted. In my mind, I always liked like a 55 and 56 Chevy cars, and I always liked the two-tone and the two-tone interior, so I kind of stole the colors from 50s models. It's not original colors, it's more of the 50s colors, but I thought it would fit well, and I thought it would be unique and be different. Finally decided, have it lowered, so got it lowered, had rims put on it, and so it's been a long road, but it was well worth it. The most difficult thing in the restoration was probably putting it all back together. When I finally got all the pieces and stuff, I thought it was going to go back together overnight, and so I guess the anxiousness of wanting it to put it together quickly, you know, and it doesn't work that way. It just takes time. So I guess patience is finally, you know, they were finally like, well, I told my buddy, you see how I was going to do? He goes, well, it took you a minute. You know?
We've seen some great show vehicles here in this episode. We'll have more when we come back with Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Well, here at Brothers Trucks, you can get a whole door, you can get the handles, any part of the hardware, but you can get some of the cool features like a modern power window. Now, at the 18th annual Show and Shine, they're blending some of the modern technology with the classic trucks. Let's get back out and join them.
Oh God, I've had this truck, probably about 4 years. It's a 1964 Chevy C10. It was in pretty bad shape when we picked it up. It had, you know, the old V8 in there leaking oil. It had the rust holes. It had the stock suspension. It go down the road, it beats you up, but it was still fun to drive. It had a good little odor to it that, you know, smelled like a 64 truck. You wonder what lived in it. We had a few rat nests in the back behind the seat, but I think that's pretty typical. Put it together, rode around in it for a while, and then stripped it down and did a frame off. As far as you can look at the truck when you see it, we tried to keep it as original and stock and simple as possible. The original bumpers, the original trim, everything like that. But as far as the motor, the tranny, everything, it's strictly a performance truck. I took a 383 stroker motor out of a sand car that I ran. You know, we're pushing about 550 horsepower in it. So it's, you know, it's fun to drive, but you know, the Detroit locker rear ends, everything that you need to go down the highway. We bagged it, we lowered it, and made a performance truck out of it, but tried to make it look still kind of stock and original, but still kind of user-friendly to drive. I did the whole truck myself, with the exception of the paint and body, but I did the frame off with me and a buddy of mine. But I'd never do the wood again. That was crazy. I never sanded and put varnish and sanded so many times in my life that, like I said, next time I'll pay to do that, or go steal. When they painted this truck and did it, they did it in pieces. I didn't take them the whole truck, so they had to match everything. So when they mixed the paint, they had to mix the paint and the satin all at the same time, keep it the same temperature, and store it so when they did spray, it matched. They did a great job. It took us probably a year to get it back together, and we've been driving it for a year now. Try to keep it simple. You know, just try to keep it simple, and like I said, a daily driver, you can get out there and putz around it, but you know, still have some fun and get in a little trouble if you wanted to. So that's why I did a truck. I was like, you know, it's a truck. How can I screw it up? I can't get in trouble for doing something that's, you know, not legit, or I'm keeping the originality of it. It's a truck.
It's a 1956 Chevy Suburban. I've owned it 4.5 years. It took 3.5 years to build. Owner before me owned it about 35 years. Sat in his backyard for about 15 years. When I got it from him, it was good shape, but you know, when we went to media blast, it showed its age. We actually chopped the top 3 inches. You know, did the custom tail lights, cameo tail lights in the back. With this paint scheme, we pretty much had it planned out. I was going to go with the white and red, but decided on the black and red. It's a Chevy red. Just didn't want to go all red because it would have stood out a little more. The engine's a small block 350 with the Edelbrock blower and Edelbrock 800 carburetor. The wheels, they're black chrome. Just went with a different style, with the black chrome, not the typical 5-spoke rim. It's a leather and camel interior with the velour headliner. The back is custom wood slats, so half wood, half carpet with the single bench seat in the back. Love driving it, get a lot of compliments on it. Goes back in my garage till I drive it next time.
This week, meet Marcelo Aldorasi, a modern hot rodder.
About 10 years old or so is when I first became interested in cars. I would think it's more of a borderline obsession than it is an interest. With school, I actually started a savings account as a school project, and ever since about 10 years old, I started saving money to buy my first car. It was right after I graduated college. The economy wasn't great. I figured, well, everyone's looking for a job, no one can find one. I'm gonna buy a car and restore it. It was definitely an awesome learning experience, and that's when I realized that that's how I look at things. I want to make things better. I don't want to just take something out of a box, install it, and say I'm done. Seeing something come to life, shaping metal, making it fit, sound, look, just how I want it and picture it in my head. As much as I love working on them, I don't think I could stomach working on someone else's car day in and day out. It's my passion that drives me to work late hours and get this job done. I think keeping my career and my passion somewhat separated is really what keeps my passion alive. For more information, check out my profile at GarageSocial.com.
Now, so many of us can relate to Marcelo's story. Stephanie, what do you think of his profile?
I think Marcelo's profile is amazing. He is a technician by trade, and he rebuilds these cars. And it's not his job, but it's his hobby, and he loves to do it. I think it's amazing that we have GarageSocial for him to be able to put his cars and his art on the internet for people to see.
Yeah, it definitely inspired me. I mean, technician by trade as well. So
yeah,
a lot of these guys are doing it out there, blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
Inspired me. Go out, check out Marcelo's profile and much, much more on GarageSocial.com. We've seen some great show vehicles here in this episode. We'll have more when we come back with Motorhead Garage.
This edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, is being brought to you by Brothers Truck Parts, your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration. Machinist Made, dedicated to bringing new revolutionary cleaning products to the market. Orla, the world's most winning exhaust. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Now, if you're looking for a hard-to-find emblem, badge, or sticker, Brothers has you covered. Now, if you want to see some of these on some really good-looking trucks, we're going to head back out to the 18th Annual Show and Shine.
1989, I went looking for a 57 Chevrolet pickup truck. Didn't care what condition it was in. Wanted a big window, custom cab, because I knew I was going to take it all apart to fix it. Finally found one in Potpourri Paper in Fremont. Purchased it for $1,000. In '95, I started on it. In 2001, I finished it the first time. In 2006, it's coming out of a show in Lodi. I was on I-5 in Stockton, and the studs on the rear wheel on the driver's side broke off, spun me around 180 degrees, and hit a concrete abutment going backwards at 60 miles an hour. The frame was bent. That is now going to be the start of the second build. Fast forward to 2014, we were enjoying hot August nights, and when I started up the truck, I noticed the temperature gauge was over 250. Tried to start it again, and instead of starting, I heard a poof underneath the hood, and I told my wife that was not a backfire. I just shot the halon between the fenders and the hood on both sides till it was empty, and then left the hood down for 5 more minutes, hoping that it would extinguish the fire, and it did. The hood was blistered, the firewall was blistered, the fenders were blistered. So I took the front sheet metal off at the house, took the motor and transmission out of it again, and repainted the firewall and refinished the front end again, put it back together in time to be able to go to Hot August Nights in 2015.
Vehicle was a 1968 Chevy C10. It was actually a flatbed, and I had to purchase the bed sides to make it to a fleet side. Had a lot of rust, so I ended up replacing the cab. But it had a rough life. It was in a farm in Iowa. History of the vehicle, it's been my dream truck. Pretty much just started fixing it up with friends along the way. I got chassis by Aaron, built the frame on it. David Jemerson painted it out of a little shop of customs. Interior by Victor. Being my dream truck, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to airbag it. I wanted a full custom interior. Wanted to lay it out on big billet wheels. And the vehicle's got a lot of custom front end work. It's got Jeep Liberty headlights on it, custom grille. The bed itself, it's wider than normal, and the custom bed floor. The engine's a 355 small block, 11-to-1 compression, got a serpentine setup on it, like pretty much hardlined and plumbed all the lines. Custom fender weld, pretty much just anything you can do custom to the vehicle. It took me 6 years to complete it. Pretty much just having friends help me out along the way, doing a lot of work myself, spending a lot of my weekends. Now just pretty much a done vehicle, finished. Been doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited. All that hard work, it's actually very much paying off. And even to win this show is an honor. And just seeing it on the t-shirts and the flyers, it really, really excited me. And my wife are very happy. They're ecstatic.
That finishes our special 2-episode excursion into show truck territory. Next week, we'll be back in the studio for our next episode of Motorhead Garage. See you there.